Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Welcome to the sauna. In this sauna, they put a little imp on your shoulder. Here he is, it's Kentucky Fudge. He's here as well. Now folks, I'm not going to keep you long here because, well, I'm still on holiday. I'm on my jollies. But I still made time, folks. I still made time for you guys so I could get this. This will be a non-spoiler, just my initial reactions to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And wouldn't that sound great with a Bane voice?
Oh yes, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Little aside there. Now, I couldn't see it at the opening showing, which I would have done. I was going to be day one, the UK opening. It was a morning showing as well at our local flea pit. And but no, Mrs. Kilt-Man had already booked us a holiday. So we're away. Darn it. But where there's a will, there's a way. And I found a way. Even though I am now banging a drum that's been banged since the film got premiered at Cannes. Premiered and dissed by all and sundry at Cannes. And then it got a premiere in London, a premiere in New York, and seemingly everybody has dissed this movie. Especially if you're on YouTube or you're on movie forums and you haven't even seen the film. Oh, you leapt all over this, didn't you? And you pissed all over it. Oh, it's going to be a travesty. It's a letdown. Oh, the bad CG. And you haven't fucking seen it. So you were saying all this before you even saw the movie. Well, I remained optimistic. You've seen my previous videos on this, and I was fingers crossed and whip cracking away, and I still am. And I've just seen the film. I have just seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and I had a cracking good time with it. I really enjoyed it. It's far from perfect, and I'm going to remain spoiler free on this. I'm not even going to go through the plot. I'm not going to bother with it. This is just going to outline my initial ideas and reactions and feelings and observations about it. But trust me, I am going to go in depth. When I get back home, back to the ranch, I'll go in with a scalpel, a fine-tooth comb. I'll be dusting off, the dust of antiquity, and I'll lay bare all the artifacts and treasures therein, or maybe not therein. And I'll discuss the movie soundtrack as well, which I'd have playing right now. I would have John Williams' lovely elegiac score to this movie. I'd have it playing right now, but I have no means to a sound system here in the sauna. So I have to make do with the occasional plane flying overhead and my raspy voice, which I'll soon rectify with this. Cheers, y'all. And cheers, Indy, wherever you lay your fedora. Now, it's 1969, we've landed on the moon, they've come back. Indy's much older, Harrison Ford's 80, but Indy, I think, is 70. Indy's retiring from a university in New York. I've forgotten which one it is. New York, by the way, it's not New York in this movie, it's Glasgow. Oh, hey, it's Glasgow. Looks great. I think it looks fine. And you even get the pipers are there. There's a great big street parade bringing back Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and that crowd, from that landing. Yeah, the moon landing. But Indy's now, he's hit the bottle. Good for you, Indy. Good for you. It was about time. He split up from Marion. And, well, these aren't spoilers. These are pretty well known that Shia LaBeouf's not in this movie because Shia LaBeouf's character, Mutt, has died. Mutt died in Vietnam. And that death, Indy couldn't deal with it, Marion couldn't deal with it, and they couldn't deal with it together. So they split up. And Indy's not having a great time. All the glories of former adventures, fortune and glory, are long since past. But he will get a shot at redemption when his goddaughter, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, will turn up, Helena, and they need to go and find the Dial of Destiny. Archimedes did this thing, I always get this wrong, the Antikythera, or Antikythera. It gets pronounced differently by each character in the movie. It's a dial, and it's two pieces to it, put it together, and it can find fissures in time. And maybe the Nazis, headed up by Super V1 rocket scientist, engineer Voller, played by Mads Mikkelsen, wants to find, get the two pieces together and do stuff that's going to change stuff, and it just bad stuff, because they're Nazis, but he has quite a different idea, but it's still Nazi megalomania. So Indy with Phoebe Waller-Bridge and her little sidekick, think Short Round from Temple of Doom. I've got a globetrot, work together, initially hostile. She's into antiquities for nefarious purposes. She finds them or steals them and sells them on the black market. Moolah. But of course, Indy, this belongs in a museum. You know, that's what he's like. And they'll be thrust together, and they'll have to go and travel the world and find various pieces and keep outwitting or being caught, and then have to outwit Mads Mikkelsen's Voller and his team of henchmen, who initially appeared to be CIA backed, but that all goes pretty much tits up very quickly, and because they have their own horribly, notorious agenda. And, maybe time travel might come into it. I don't know. Well, I do know. Yeah. You've had the Holy Grail. You've had the Ark of the Covenant. You've had the cult of Kali. People getting their hearts ripped out, and then still alive, they get plunged into fiery pits whilst they're still alive, even their heart's been pulled out. And you've got a Knight Templar who's centuries old, who's waiting for someone to take his place to guard the Holy Grail. And then you've got aliens from the space, between space. So is it really any stretch you're going to go to time travel? Is it bollocks? Is it a worry? No. Does it mess with the whole indie ideology? No, of course not. It's the next logical step. So, I say I won't bog you down with the story. We just wasted about 5 minutes giving the sort of premise of it. You start off with a fabulous prologue, a 22-minute prologue, maybe a bit more, in 1944, with a plunder train of Nazi relics and artifacts, and the de-aged Harrison Ford. Oh God, I've heard so much toing and froing on this. Oh, it looks great when he's face on, but when he turns and movements, oh, it looks awful, and the lip sync's terrible, and blah, 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 blah. I thought it looked fucking great. I think the problem with it was that they used Harrison Ford's voice now, which is really gruff and hoarse, and sounds like he's been swigging this stuff, pretty much all the time. And it's just how my voice is going to end up, quite clearly. Because it doesn't fit the face, the de-aged face. But it's great seeing him unmasked. It's him being dragged on the train in a German uniform as well, and it's great seeing all the Germans, all the Krats, swarming all over this train. You get a great motorbike chase, and elaborate action choreography, pretty naff CG. I'm gonna say it up front. The CG is all over the show in this movie. Some of it's great, some of it's really bad. But even the really bad CG, even the face, the de-aging, the uncanny valley as they call it, I wasn't bothered by that. I was a bit more bothered by the copious use of green screen, which really did take me out of it a little bit. Indy's older voice, Ford's older voice with Indy's younger face didn't work, and was a bit of an annoyance, to be honest. But it's not something that's going to bother me. The bad CG isn't going to bother me. The green screen stuff, I have to say, will bother me a bit more on repeated viewings because it's so obvious. Unless on home video versions they manage to tweak that. Well, Lucasfilm and Disney retweak stuff all the time, so maybe they will. Hopefully they'll do it. But I don't really have a major issue because you're looking at a guy that loves films from the 1920s, 30s and 40s, where oftentimes the backdrop would be curtains painted on to look like stormy clouds behind mountains, which are little plastic and polystyrene mountains in the background. So it's all absolutely theatrical fakery. If I can, and you can see the rips in the curtains as well where the light's shining through, you can see all that in the old Universal horror movies and other studios. But it doesn't bother me. It's all part of just giving in, succumbing to that story and this fabulous milieu that they've created. And, in this day and age, you kind of think, well, it should all be perfect. It should look realistic. But some of these green screens really do look horribly, overtly fake when you've got people riding motorbikes and it's clearly they're riding a stationary motorbike. It's not going anywhere, but it's all CG and these backgrounds. Well, yeah, it is an issue, but I don't think it's going to bother me too much because, it's escapism. So anyway, I got around that. That prologue's great, folks. The amount of Nazis that get annihilated is fabulous. It's exciting. It's funny. It's its own movie. I'll be honest right now. Having come out of this movie and having enjoyed pretty much all of it, the one thing I remember and cling to is that prologue. It's the best by far. But if you open up a big movie, which is 2.5 hours long, a bit more, it's the longest Indiana Jones movie, and although I think it goes by a hell of a clip, so its length doesn't bother me. Its length is great, which is what Mrs. Kilt-Man said to me only just last night, and but the duration was a lot shorter, if you know what I mean. It doesn't bother me at all. It goes by a hell of a rate. And I was never less than entertained. But that prologue is up there, really up there, dead exciting and full of great stuff, great violence and taking out Germans, as I say. Not all. Germans are fine. Nazis are not. He's taking out Nazis, which we applaud, of course. But it's such a high benchmark that the rest of the film really will struggle to reach that kind of level of excitement because you've got the older Indy and he's gruff, he's not happy, he's lost his son and lost Marion, and he's not in a good place at this particular junction in his time. He's just retired, but his last few years of working, the kids in class weren't remotely interested because we're going to space now, and so he's just not bothered. They're not interested, so why should he be? And he's hitting the bottle, and Harrison Ford plays that really well. He looks old, he looks weary, which might fly in the face for some people when he starts doing some ridiculous stunts, leaping from tuk-tuk to tuk-tuk and climbing up sheer faces of subterranean caves and punching out people left, right and centre, kicking over huge shelves of artefacts in an archive and riding horses through the subway of New York. But these are great elements though. You've got 3 chases. Is it 3 chases? Let me see if I've got this right. You've got the train chase in the prologue. God, I did say no spoilers, but you've seen it in the fucking trailer, so don't come down on me like a ton of bricks. You've probably even seen the film already. These are my initial reactions. Loved the prologue. Loved the chase in New York, where he rides the horse, goes through the street parade. You've got, what's his name? Boyd Holbrook. Oh, God. Boyd Holbrook. If ever there was a guy in movies, and this is a compliment to him, he plays snidey bastards. Look at Logan, which James Mangold directed as well, which is a phenomenal movie. Old Man Logan, Old Wolverine. And Boyd Holbrook is a right bastard in that. And he's played right bastards in other movies. And he's a right bastard in this. In fact, he reminds me with his tash of Colin Farrell in Minority Report, which John Williams scored. And you will find that there are elements of Minority Report in this score as well. But I'll save all that music stuff when I review the actual score itself. But Boyd Holbrook, he's good. But he's the kind of guy, he plays these snidey cunts so well that if he walked in here right now, I'd say, "What are you doing in my sauna? I've booked this 2 hours in here." You know, if he walked in here now, I'd do a big fucking Ben Bear style thunderclap punch like Indy does and delivers in so many of these movies. And I'd lay him out, mate. I'd lay him out because he's such a twat. But that's good because he's playing it really well. And he is a bit of a swine. He's one of Mads Mikkelsen's henchmen. Mads Mikkelsen, Voller, a Nazi, worked on a V1. And he's back. He's met Indy already and he's going to meet him again. And although quite how the hell he survived what happened to him in the prologue is beyond me. Truly and utterly beyond me. That was one hell of a knock he took to his noggin, his Nazi noggin, that even the Terminator couldn't survive that. But he did, somehow. That's not my guts making little noises. It's this big leather. Look at this big leather chair. It's great. Little luxuries. Mads Mikkelsen himself is actually pretty good in it as well. I've seen people saying that, he just phones it in. But even when he phones it in, he's still good. No, he is good. He's in it a lot more than a lot initial reviews led me to suspect. He's in it a hell of a lot. Wherever Indy and Helena, his goddaughter, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, wherever they get to, he will be there either a moment before or a moment behind. But he's always around. Wherever they are, he's there as well. With his little mob, his little family of henchmen, including a really big fuck-off bastard. Like, you've always got one big guy. Now, I'll be honest, watching this, I was, if only it had been Pat Roach. If Pat Roach, of course, well, yeah, I'm not even going to go into his previous escapades with Indy, but Pat Roach would have been outstanding. This guy, this big fella, don't know his name, tries to give it some character. And but he falls foul of what happened. Well, I said no spoilers. I'll try and gloss over this. I found that big guy, Boyd Holbrook, and even Mads Mikkelsen, you want a payoff. These guys are twats. I'll tell you right now, the body count, the collateral damage, and the body count of innocent people in this is off the fucking scale. I could not believe how many innocent people were getting wasted, assassinated, left, right, and centre. It was like, oh Christ, you're just killing people all the time. And so you kind of want these guys to go through it, Indy to like fucking get him and like do something, and in some grisly end, whether they meet a propeller or they get crushed under, a big rock crusher, or whatever. Faces melting, people erupting. Well, I'm going to say right now, you don't get that. You don't get that. And in fact, one of the issues I have with it is that you don't get that payoff with these bad guys. But I'll talk more at length about that when I get the opportunity for the big spoiler-rife review. But Mikkelsen is good. He doesn't phone it in. It's just that he's a bit of an underwritten character. Mikkelsen does his best, and he looks, especially in the prologue, but he's got the hat on and those round German spectacles, he looks like Peter Weller from Naked Lunch. He also looks he reminded me with his Nazi sort of Gestapo hat on and his briefcase and his long, black trench coat, like Tote from Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I thought, well, that works. I'm happy with that. It's great. When you move along in time to the late 60s, and he's still got that severe German over the ears haircut, but he's got like a long sort of whitish grey hair flick, and but I liked him. You've got Antonio Banderas in here as well. Fucking forget it. Why did you bother? This is a bad point. You brought him in as an old indie friend, and he serves a purpose. Anyone could have played that part. This guy could have played the part because his dialogue was crap. It didn't mean anything. There was no real sense of camaraderie. You'd never met this guy before. He's an old friend of indies, and they go, well, not deep sea diving, but they go diving, shall we say. And don't cross the tubes. Whatever you do, don't cross the tubes. And so you get a bit of undersea adventure, which wasn't that bad. No sharks, no barracuda, no killer whales, eels. And what are eels like? They're like sea snakes, aren't they? Snakes. Oh. In fact, that sequence kind of evoked a bit of Jack Sparrow. I was surprised not to see Jack Sparrow suddenly appear somewhere underwater, or Captain Barbossa, with the moonlight coming through, suddenly being half skeletal underwater. It did evoke that. Well, it's Disney again, isn't it? So Mickelson's great. Boyce Holbrook, he's great in it. The big henchman's great, but it all comes to nothing in the end, as far as I'm concerned, for those guys. You wanted payoff, you don't really get that. You've got John Rhys Davies returns as Salah, which actually I feel quite refreshed about that, because in this woke day and age, you would have thought there'd be an outcry. What? A Welshman playing an Egyptian? No, placards. Beat you up. You writers and you casting directors, beat you up. No, it should be an Egyptian. Now, it's John Rhys Davies who's played Salah in 2 previous movies. So bring him back. And yeah, it's fan service. It is. And he's somehow been brought to America. Indy got his family out, during the Second World War and got him to America. And he's a fucking cab driver. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I like seeing him back there, but it's, what it is. And of course, there is another character from Indy's past who will return. And it's pure fan service, but it's crucial to this story, and it's crucial to the legacy of Indiana Jones, from Raiders through to Crystal Skull, through to this. And although it's kind of cringy a little bit, I'm not going to say too much. It's kind of cringy, but it's nice, and it's one of, I think, about 3 moments in this movie. It's to illustrate the number 3. I actually raised 3 fingers. Well, 2 fingers and a thumb for those pedantics out there. There's 3 occasions where I genuinely got a lump in my throat and a tear in my eye. I did, and one of them was an unexpected moment where Indy, quite early on, the Indy that we have in this movie, not the younger Indy in the prologue, he says about retirement, and there's a forlorn, lost look in his eyes. Now, I'm at that horrible age. As most of you guys know, I've not retired. I took redundancy, but I took it at a curious age, which leaves me in a bit of a limbo. And people do say to me, how you enjoy retirement? And it kind of takes me aback, and I think, am I retired? Is it over for me? And by the way, retirement does not mean anything at all is over. It's just, nothing is over. A bit of Rambo there. You just don't turn it off. I have not stopped. I'm still doing this. There's still adventures yet to be had, possibly the greatest adventures of all, because I always believe that the next adventure will be the best one. And of course, well, if you believe that, then the next adventure will be the best one. And there's always adventures. And the indie movies kind of prove that. Whether you think they should have stopped at 3, 4 was not the best, but I admire the fact that they tried it happened. And I definitely admire the fact that they've done it this time around as well. But that moment when he talks about retirement, and you see the look on Harrison Ford's face, a non-CGI face, a completely craggy, misbegotten, down and out sort of face. And I thought, oh God, yeah, is that where I am? So I felt an empathy, I felt something towards that. I think a younger generation won't feel that. They might do, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I think it might work for certain people more than it will for others. And I think Harrison Ford definitely nails the older hero, the guy that, I don't want to be doing this, but in a way I'm kind of loving it. And I'm also learning about Archimedes, the things that Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Helena, his goddaughter, his mate, Toby, is it Toby Jones or Toby Stevens? Toby Jones, isn't it? It looks a bit like this guy, with a few little wisps of hair around him, bit of a mad professor. He's a great actor. I actually do love this guy. And you do see him in 2 flashbacks, the opening prologue and another flashback, sort of a little deeper into the movie. And all to do with this, what's it called again? The Antikythera, the Dial of Destiny. And he's good. Again, slightly underused. He's a bit of a cipher. He's a conduit to bring, he's another old friend of Indy's, and they've got this huge connection. Something that you've never learned about any other fucking indie adventure at all. You never hear about these other people who are great friends of his. But clearly he's had many adventures and escapades. And but he gives it his all in these 2 particular sequences. And you get the bond between Indy and Helena, who he used to call Wombat. And when she comes back in, of course, she's nefarious. She steals antiquities to make some moolah. And Indy doesn't like the idea of that. But he'll be dragged into this entire saga because of her and because of the legacy with her father, his former friend, because he's dead now. And, God, that was no spoiler. But, yeah, I had a really, really great time. The chases, the New York chase, yes, he rides a horse down the New York subway and it gets... I'll tell you what, when he's riding that horse and he's got the train up his arse, up the horse's arse, and he managed to get off the tracks to another track, and then another train's coming there, oh shit, and he managed to get to a platform and leap just in time as the train goes through. I kid you not, it's fucking CG, but I went, oh! That fucking got me on that, didn't he? Oh, because it just about, the horse's tail clips the train, oh my God, that got me. But I like that. By the way, one of the world's worst abductions by the CIA and these nefarious Nazis who are working with a rather stupid, naive CIA. It's the most woeful attempt at trying to catch, snatch and grab. It's awful, but it's part of the excitement and the fun. And that chase, I really enjoyed. Nice little cameos by some Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and that, and the other guy who we always forget. I don't know, I forgot his name. As going down a cavalcade, I enjoyed that sequence. You get the chase in Tangier with the tuk-tuks. Fucking, unless you've been to Morocco and North Africa, unless you've been there, you never knew what a tuk-tuk was. Don't fucking tell me that you did. I've been there, I know what they are. And they're still in operation. The bastards are still running these days. And it probably is one of the best ways to get around some of these little tiny little bloody streets, all sandstone blocks and people in bazaars sitting there drinking their coffees and all that. It's one of the only ways to get around there at any kind of speed. And that chase was pretty good. Forget it. Don't compare it to Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise, which people are doing. Why do I want to see a stuntman with a CG Indiana Jones, CG Harrison Ford face on, leaping from thing to thing and climbing over this and running through there and punching people and running? Fuck. Shut up. Mission Impossible movies are great. They are. And they are stunt-laden with real stuntmen. But don't compare the two. They're not the same. Indiana Jones movies cut their teeth on stunts. Vic Armstrong and everybody else, all those teams, audacious, massively planned and choreographed and rehearsed stunts Real places, real locations, real vehicles, real people. Brilliant. That's not the age we're living in now. Tom Cruise can command all that sort of stuff because he fucking does it himself. So, and no one argues with Tom. King Tom. The guy that can run. If Superman can turn the earth round by flying around it, Tom Cruise could run around it quicker than you, Supes. Tom Cruise can't off shift, can't he? There's a little rocket up his arse. But the tuk-tuks, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great chase. It goes on for a wee bit long, I'll be honest, but I like chases that go on for a bit of time. And it's all over the show. And violence aplenty. Some people are getting thrown off these things. They're being chased. They're chasing someone and being chased by others. Guys in cars, guys on motorbikes. And it's 1969 and you've actually got machine pistols. You've got Uzis there as well. So it's an interesting little dynamic thrown into it. Not just your old 6-shooter, boom, 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 with those cannon blast gunshots from the first 3 movies. But, you know, I enjoyed it, thought it was still exciting. And then you get another chase. Where's the other chase? You have New York, you have Tangier. Where's the other chase? There is another chase. And there's planes as well. There's another chase somewhere. I can't fucking remember where it is now. We've just seen the bastard as well. I can't remember where it is. Where are they? I can't remember. But despite all the reviewers so far and the people who slammed it said it's just one chase after another, it's just it just doesn't end, doesn't end up, and it just becomes boring. Well, here's one thing I actually wanted another action set piece. I think it's actually missing a set piece. I know it's a long film, but I think if you had condensed a little bit of it down, there was room for another type of action set piece. It is missing one. I think when you go back to watch this film again, you'll see what I mean. You'll go, oh yeah. We've had that, we've had this, and oh, that's only literally about 2 or 3 minutes of something, but really could have done with a bit, oh yeah, we're missing something out here. So, I don't know. And coincidences are a pain in the arse. People just arrive at the worst possible time or the totally appropriate time. What else was it I'd written down? I did write some little notes. Yeah, there's a massive lazy catch-up to Sicily, I wrote. Should I explain that? I'll do it in kind of broad strokes. Whereas our heroes work something out and have used a bit of subterfuge and a bit of like sort of like, we know that Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character can do card tricks, but no, I marked that card, you know, that card is a mark. I made you think you were picking a card at random, but you picked the card I wanted. You're setting up her abilities, her skills as you know, someone who's street sharp and smart and knows the ways and means of man and all the, you know, the skullduggery that goes on. And she's a wheeler dealer and she's canny and she's really, really scalpel sharp. So this sort of thing, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, the lazy catch up to Sicily. She's worked something out and they managed to get away from something. And Indy works out something else. So they head in a different direction from what certain people are thinking. But certain people who were thinking something else pick up a pair of binoculars and see them going that way and follow them and get there probably about 5 minutes just after they did. And you're like, well, I wrote down lazy because that's lazy writing. So that's a bad element there. But you know, these films would not exist without coincidence, without stuff happening and someone catching up. There'd be no plot. If you made it all realistic and believable, then it'd be shit and boring. Okay. I'm gonna try and curtail this now because it's all over the show, I know, but I've just seen it and I'm kind of like, ooh, where do I go with this? And I want to get the review out there before I go properly in depth on it. The pros of this movie. The prologue is fucking awesome. That's a mini movie in its own right. If that's all they'd done, I hadn't done the rest, I'd actually be happy. I'd be like, wow. All they did it an Indiana Jones short as a finale, to the character. Brilliant. I'd have loved it. It'd be perfect. Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge chemistry. Terrific. She is awesome. She's one of the things I thought was going to be bad about the movie. I am not a huge fan of Fleabag. I don't mind her as a person, as a writer. Yes, they brought her on to fine tweak No Time to Die, but really, did she make much of a fucking difference on that? I really don't think so. But it got her foot in the door of Hollywood. Plus, one of her mates works for Hollywood, and got her in there as well. So you got all this. So she got shoehorned in, and now she's a big action heroine superstar. And the thing is, she's actually really good, and I genuinely enjoyed her being in it. Good character. She's brilliant with off-the-cuff improv and witty, acerbic remarks. The banter is terrific. There's a bit of heart and soul to it when need be. And even though there's copious CG and there's green screen, she still acquits herself in the action scenes really well. And I totally bought into her character. She's got the pseudo short round character, her little sidekick, Teddy. Which, when I read about this and heard about him, I thought, oh, you are fucking kidding. Little black lad. And I thought, oh, what? Really? Are you going to do this? Oh, you're kidding. An ethnic, as a little sort of chaperone, a little hanger-on, who she met the same way that Indy met Short Round. He was trying to like lift his wallet, Short Round, and Teddy's trying to steal their purse or something like that. And camaraderie is found, and the two become partners in crime and fortune and glory. And Teddy was actually pretty good. You've got this thing though where he has been foreshadowed, like, oh, he's learning how to fly a plane. Well, that'll come in handy, won't it? Plot. And that's just, there you go. But Phoebe Waller-Bridge is brilliant. There's a lot of talk about this could be a springboard to her being her own offshoot, a spin-off series or another movie or a TV show. At this point in time, no pun intended on the time travelling stuff there, I wouldn't mind. I genuinely wouldn't mind. She's an odd looking bird, I'll be honest. I don't know. I mean, she's not the most glamorous or attractive of this sounds terrible, of heroines, and or you get behind her because you fancy her. Hey, pun fully intended. But Phoebe Waller-Bridge, not for this guy, no way. But she is a great character, and I would want to see more of her. That would really, really work. So we come on to now the chases. The chases are superb. They're great. Really, really enjoyable. Lots of stuff taking place. Lots of collateral damage and panic and just excitement. I was genuinely excited, and I know I'm going to watch those scenes again and again and again. Violence. It is pretty violent. It's gritty. There's a lot of violence in this movie, which is what you need. Crystal Skull didn't have the violence, I didn't think. Raiders, you've got headshots, you've got people melting and exploding, you've got all sorts going on in that movie. People getting chewed up by prop plane propellers, and it's nasty, for God's sake. Indiscriminate killing. The swords, Indy just goes, oh, fuck, bang, just blows him away. Raiders is very violent. Temple of Doom is even more violent. And Last Crusade isn't as violent, but you've still got Krauts getting catapulted over vehicles, planes exploding, people getting shot to bits. Junior, look what you did. Look what you did. And people aging rapidly and all that. And you've still got a bit of grisly stuff in there. But it's a much lesser one. This one brings back a lot of deaths. People getting chewed up under vehicles, catapulted through the air, shot and speared. Oh, and there is one gory bit, which I did not expect. Whoosh. A little clue for you. A little clue. Yeah, not alien, not a chest burster, but it's something else. And my God, I was like, oh, right. And so violence is great. Emotion is there. There's a couple of scenes, 3 scenes where I got, for about 3 or 4 seconds, emotional. That's important because with this character, at the swan song, you need, even it might be hackneyed, it might be a bit cliched, but it still worked for me. Good henchmen, yeah, you have got good henchmen. It's just that you don't get the payoff to these guys that you want. So, I don't know. The period setting is great. I love the fact that it's the 60s. People don't like this, but an older indie, you're going to have to do it, aren't you? I love the fact that it's the 60s. I love the fact that you've got the moon landings thrown in there. It just gives it something to place it in time. And but then we come to the cons, and I'll start off with period setting, because although it's one of the good things about it, it's also one of the bad things, because once you've had the ticker tape parade for the NASA astronauts coming back, well, it could be any fucking time. It doesn't really matter. It's gone. The 60s is then completely forgotten because you're now travelling across the fucking globe. Oh, by the way, the airborne map, the aviator map, and the little red line going doo doo. Yeah, I could have done a bit more of that actually. Really, yeah, that I would have liked to see a bit more of that, because you do a bit of globetrotting. Although you do a lot of globetrotting? It is me ruminating myself. You go from obviously Europe, 1944, to New York, 1969, and then you go to Morocco and Tangier, and then you go to Sicily, and then you go to Sicily. There's not that much globetrotting. Now I come to think of it, have I missed somewhere else? No, don't think I have. Oh yeah, you go under. Well, you're in the Aegean Sea, so it's not exactly, you're not missing. You're still in the same general area. Anyway, the period setting is great while they talk about it, and then it's forgotten about, jettisoned. Bad CG, bad green screen, fucking awful. Some bits are okay, but there's so much which is awful about it. But I can get around that. But it's, in this day and age, and the amount of money, 300 million spent on this, should we really be putting up with it? I don't know. It should be better than it is. No Paramount logo dissolved at the start. A Paramount mountain at the start, which dissolves in all the previous movies, dissolves into the first image of the movie. They have the Paramount logo, and it dissolves into Lucasfilm. Hey, well, drop the ball there. Why be the only movie out of the entire franchise that doesn't do it? Why do that? The fans love that. Why did you drop that? That makes no sense at all. No sense. I've written lackluster payoff to bad guys. Well, I've already covered that. Naff guest spots. That would be Antonio Banderas, which is just, you could have had anyone playing that. You could have had Kelsey Grammer. You could have had Russ Abbott. You could have had Tony Blair. Anyone could have played that character. It doesn't make one fucking bit of difference. Oh no, Antonio Banderas, we'll bring him in as well. So he gets his face on the poster. And just to bring the Antonio Banderas fans in, Cat, Puss in Boots. And he's worthless. I'll be honest, he's utterly worthless. Fan service, I wrote that as well as a con, because it's great to see certain people come back, but it's also a bit of a pain that they're not used really that effectively. And it's just, it is, you go, well, you're sitting there and you go, okay, and especially at the end, I'm not saying anymore, but a certain person's going to suddenly appear, and you're going to get this sequence, which I'll admit, it is nice and romantically wistful, and it harkens back to one of my favourite scenes in Raiders of the Lost Ark. But it brings that back. But you know what they're doing. When really, this particular character should have been in it from the start. And you could have written it so many different ways. But she's there, and the scene happens. And it ends, on a reasonably old age high. Which, at my time in life, that's something I want to look forward to. An old age high. Roger Moore had that with an all-time high, and he was no AP then. So folks, 3/4 of an hour of a video, which is meant to be non-spoiler, and just a quick sort of reaction. But you know what I'm like. I really had a good time with this film. But here's the caveat I'm coming to now. Whilst talking about it and thinking about it, this is not a film I'm going to return to. Oh, shit. Kilt-Man? What? You said it was great. You enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed it all the way through as a one-off. I find the entire last act finale unexciting and sort of obvious and detracting from the main story and the main impetus, because, well, we'll have to wait till I do the full spoiler, because I basically was unenthralled by the finale. I wanted more and it didn't deliver, and yet you can tell that they thought they were delivering. Well, this is the ultimate. This is what indie needs. This is what it's all about. History and, I ain't saying it, but you know what I mean. And if you liked it, great. I like in conception, I think it's a good idea. I'd go with it. I just don't think it was delivered or executed very well at all. I was like, okay, so, right, that's it. We've gone there and that's all you've done with it. Oh yeah, I get it. Oh, there's a watch. Oh, and this thing actually fucking works. Or basically in ancient Greek, Eureka! Ka 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 ka. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And although I like the bookending, poetic, sort of how everything is conjoined, I like that. I just don't think the film delivered much in the way of excitement during this entire sequence. I actually wanted more. It didn't. The payoff wasn't there. I'll think more about that, because there's something I want to say right now, but it would be too much right now. But this is a film that I will definitely buy on Blu-ray or UHD. Well, UHD. If Disney ever allow it to come out that way. I don't see how they couldn't, to be honest. The first 4 movies are out on UHD, so you're going to have to do a box set with this one. You're going to have to do it. And all us mugs are going to fucking buy it again, like so. And you want it for the collection. But I can guarantee you, all I'm going to do when I watch this movie again is watch the prologue, and then I'm going to skip to the New York chase, skip to the Tuk Tuk Tangier chase, and then I might not skip anywhere else. Well, there you go. And for those of you who are saying, what's your mark out of 10? What's your mark out of 10, Kilt-Man? Possessed by Boris Johnson. Well, I don't know. I'm not one for giving marks out of 10. So why did I set myself up for this then? Well, Raiders is a 10 out of 10 movie. Very definitely. And I think I really, really enjoyed Temple of Doom. Although I think it might not be quite as good a movie as Raiders. You feel obliged to say that. Just say what you feel. I fucking love Temple of Doom. So I'm going to give that 10 as well. Last Crusade, I adore. but it's not. I think it's the comedy one. If I want to have a laugh with Indiana Jones, I put that on. But that does not equate to all-out excitement and fun and adventure, although it has that in spades. So Last Crusade gets a 9. Raiders, Temple, 10s. Last Crusade, a 9. Crystal Skull, 4. 4. It is awful. Looks great, it's colourful, but it's an awful film. It's a genuinely awful movie. Despite Harrison Ford giving it his all again. But no, it's the set pieces are crap. It's all over the show. And so many characters I don't like about it. No. 4, and it's lucky to get that, to be honest. Straight away, after it finished, I thought, oh wow. In fact, during it, I was thinking, oh, we've gone past 6. This is a 7. Ooh, are we nudging to an 8? Now, sitting here in the cold light of this baking hot sauna. It's not a sauna, folks. It's not a sauna, trust me. He'd have melted if it was. And this would have evaporated. 6. It gets a 6. But that's a good, strong, and 6 is better than 5. And 5 is halfway. 5's good. You're halfway there. That's great. Anything less than 5 is shit. Anything more than 5 is massive bonus. So it gets a 6 because I was massively entertained throughout the entire movie. Although that entertainment did dip right from, you want to start off with a bang, don't you? Really hit there with a rollicking big boof. You want that clout, but you've got to maintain that. The clout at the start, and then, okay, introduce characters, introduce story, introduce themes, weave stuff in, have little high points, but then begin to build and build and build and build and build. The format, the generic format is that, and most action movies do try to adhere to it. If you start off with something which is so much better than the rest of the movie, well, that is going to come back to bite you on the arse, because people are not only... Well, I've just sat through the most exciting bit. Oh, so what's next then? Oh, it's going to go, it goes, oh. That has not got longevity, folks. It hasn't. So, on initial viewing, I'm going to give this a 6, but a good 6. I was thoroughly entertained. It had some emotion to it. People who say it's not funny, it is. It is funny. Crusade is the funny one. Temple of Doom has funny elements to it. Raiders has funny elements to it. Well, the entire Crystal Skull is laughable, but it's not got funny elements. It's just laughable dross. But this has humour, but it's character-based humour, and it's in the dialogue, and it's just in the set-piece circumstances. So, I know what I meant to say before. The guy that plays Teddy, I didn't think the sidekick for Helena, I thought, that's going to be awful. He was actually good. I quite liked him. And I wish to God that, and I forgot the actor's real name, Short Round, who's now an Academy Award winner. If they'd known about him and his resurgence, I guarantee you they would have brought him back for this. As maybe a guest spot, a cameo, but they'd have brought him back. Because they'd have cashed in on his new fame and illustriousness. So, it's just a shame that it was mistimed on that one. I'd love to have seen Short Round come back. You only get a slight reference to Temple of Doom with like drinking the blood of Carly and voodoo and all that. He does mention all this. But it's funny how Willie Scott, Kate Capshaw, doesn't get a mention. That was a former love of his life. And I thought she's wonderful. And of course, she's Spielberg's wife. So it's not like she's forgotten about, Could easily have made a little reference to it. There's fridge magnets and stuff, and a picture of Marion. He sticks something on that at the start. But you could have had a picture of Willie Scott there as well, in Anything Goes costume, like. Or better still, when the elephant throws her off and she lands in a little puddle, and the wet, yeah, you know what I mean. Cheers, Mr. Spielberg and Mrs. Spielberg. Folks, there's my almost an hour long. That was meant to be quite quick, but you know me, the gob, it just doesn't stop, does it? I had a good time with it. I urge you to go and see it. If you're an Indiana Jones fan, go and see it. Of course, you should. You've got to round it off. And it is worth seeing. But repeatability, I don't think it's there. The first three you can watch endlessly. Time after time after time after time. Which is ironic because this film is about time after time after time and all that sort of stuff. Features in time. It's not time travel, it's features in time. No. This is time travel. Make no bones about that. They haven't really hidden that, so it's no big spoiler. There's time travel in this movie, folks. But it's not quite as exciting in that department as you kind of think it would be. Anyway, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Yeah, it gets a thumbs up. It does. But it's not great. It's good fun and it's entertainment. And I don't really think you can expect anything more from a guy who's 80 years old. Even with stuntmen with CGI faces on them and de-aging. Even with all of that taking place. I don't think you can expect anything more. They've got to pertain to an element of reality. Oh, I just said that talking about Indiana Jones movie. About the fact that he's older. But he still fucking does a lot. If you like the fucking thumps, getting knocked out and getting kicked everywhere. That prologue has got fucking loads of it in it. Loads. I've just thought, he doesn't use the whip that often, does he? He uses it once, I think. Once in the Tangier sort of stolen artifact deal, auction, which you see in the trailers and all the clips all the time. Like, and he'll go, oh God, like that, and put the guns on him. Which is one of the most obvious scenes of all time. But I still kind of liked it, though. It's also good seeing Indy with a gun and boom, but it doesn't happen often enough, to be honest. Oh, I've said enough. Folks, have been always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever Dial of Destiny in between time, please keep it Kiltic, and I'm going to see you all. Foof. Namaste. Later.